What's up, everybody? My name is Brad, and today I've got another book review for you guys, and I'm going to be talking about The Resurrectionist by Michael Patrick Hicks. This is actually book one in the Salem Hawley series. Book two is already out, Born of the Deep, and I'm already reading that one. And I think book three, I think he titled it already, but I can't remember. I think it's at the end of book two, he reveals the title. But anyway, this is the second time I've read anything by Michael Patrick Hicks. The first time I actually listened to one of his short stories on Audible. It was about an hour long, and that was Revolver. And I'll put a link to that review up here in the cards. But I really enjoyed Revolver, and I really enjoyed this book as well. And I've come to find that I really enjoy and really like Michael's writing. He's got great prose. He comes up with interesting scenarios and situations and characters for the two books that I've read by him. And I'm really looking forward to reading. I'm probably going to read all of his work. He's probably going to be a must-buy author for me. I've enjoyed his stuff that much. I did read this. I wanted to say real quick, I read this with my buddy Nick as a buddy read. You'll know Nick as Spooky Noodles. I'll put a link to his channel down in the description. But we read like 2 chapters a day. I think it was only 8 chapters. We got through it pretty quick. It's only about 120 pages or so. We discussed it on my Discord server, back and forth, what we had read and what we thought of what was going on and stuff. It was a lot of fun. So thanks to Nick for reading that with me. And we're actually buddy reading book 2, Born in the Deep, already as well. And we're discussing that one over on Discord too. But let's go ahead and get into the synopsis real quick, and then I'll give you my thoughts and everything on the book. Having won his emancipation after fighting on the side of the colonies during the American Revolution, Salem Hawley is a free man. Only a handful of years after the end of British rule, Hawley finds himself drawn into a new war unlike anything he has ever seen. New York City is on the cusp of a new revolution as the science of medicine advances, but procuring bodies of study is still illegal. Bands of resurrectionists are stealing corpses from New York cemeteries, and women of the night are disappearing from the street, only to meet grisly ends elsewhere. After a friend's family is robbed from their graves, Hawley is compelled to fight back against the wave of exhumations plaguing the Black Cemetery. Little does he know, the theft of bodies is key to far darker arts being performed by the resurrectionists. If successful, the work of these occultists could spell the end of the fledgling American experiment and the world itself. So this is touted as a historical fiction cosmic horror story sort of mashup, and I do really enjoy historical fiction stuff, as long as it doesn't have super huge romantic overtones. I know a lot of historical fiction tends to go the romantic route, but as long as it's not romance heavy, I do really enjoy historical fiction, and I really enjoyed this one. That was what drew me to this one a lot, was the setting being historical fiction mixed with these Lovecraftian cosmic horror elements. And I thought that was a really fun mashup that I don't really think I've seen too often, especially with our main character, our protagonist, being a Black American or African American. That was sort of a unique twist on it. The setting for the book is based on the New York Doctors' Riots from 1788. So that was really cool, as the backdrop to this cosmic horror that Michael Patrick Hicks does a great job of explaining and going into super great detail. Right off the bat, the very opening page, Michael Patrick Hicks does a great job of setting the tone, letting you know right off the bat how this story is going to be. The opening scene, without giving too much away, it's super brutal and grisly and violent, and that sets the tone for the rest of the book. I thought that was a really smart choice to start the book out that way, letting you know, he's not playing around. He's not holding anything back or pulling any punches or anything. But as it says, it's New York in 1788, around there. So this is after the American Revolution, but still a long ways away from the Civil War. So there is still a lot of racism here, even though a lot of the people of color in the North in New York are free. They're still looked down upon. They still are sort of concentrated to living in ghettos and stuff. And really, aren't integrated that well with the rest of society. They're still really looked down upon. And these Resurrectionists, which is a super cool term and super cool title for the book. I really dug that. But the Resurrectionists, they work for the medical, the doctors and stuff, the medical field. And it's still a time of learning and exploration and stuff, especially when learning about the human body and the anatomy. And it's hard to come by bodies at this time, so they resort to stealing bodies from graves. The Resurrectionists, they dig up bodies, they steal bodies from graves, and either sell them or take them to the doctors so they can perform autopsies and different things to learn about the human body that otherwise they're just not able to do. Along with that, along with digging up bodies, they're also stealing live bodies off the street, like the synopsis said. Mainly working women or prostitutes. A lot of them are disappearing during this time, and that is where a lot of the gruesome nature of this takes place. Is when these women are captured, they're taken alive, and they're brought to a hospital or doctor's facility, and these experiments are done on the women while they're still alive. You know, they're cut open and dissected, and that leads into more of the darker cosmic aspects of the book. They start to do sort of rituals around cutting open these women, and they're trying to evoke or call forth the elder gods into the realm, into our world, our realm, to basically wreak havoc and create a whole new world and role under these elder gods. Another thing that was really cool was some of the characters in the book. There was a John Hicks Jr. and a Richard Bailey. And after forward, Michael Patrick Hicks talks about this. Those were actual real people from around this time. Richard Bailey, he was a doctor. I don't remember who John Hicks was, but in the book he plays a resurrectionist. He might have been a resurrectionist in real life. I don't remember for sure. But he based these characters off these real life people, which was really cool. So we have John Hicks Jr., Richard Bailey, and there was a Jonathan Hereford. Those are sort of our human antagonist. And so there's two aspects to the book. There's the human side, the human antagonist, where they're disrupting these graves and stealing real people and doing these heinous, vile, rituals and experiments on people. And then that leads into the cosmic horrors, the cosmic antagonist, as these humans are trying to draw out these elder gods. And so that was nice to play those two sides off of each other, as Salem is fighting against the humans, and then later he comes to find out it's much bigger, much broader than that, and he has to fight against these cosmic forces. And that just seems like a horrifying thought, to know that your loved ones are dead, you're never going to see them again, they've been buried, they've been put to rest, and then someone's going to come along and dig them up, bust them out of their casket, and take them somewhere. They're going to be chopped up into pieces and have horrible things done to them. And I know that happened in real life, and that just seems like a horrible, horrible thing to, if you go to visit the grave and see it's been dug up, that has to be traumatizing and horrible. And with all the racism and stuff, that happened a lot to the black community, not only the black community, but just poor people in general. And so you sort of felt for Salem and the other African Americans in his community, that were trying to fight against this. They took it to like the city council and stuff, and they basically just ignored their pleas for help to try to keep these resurrectionists from digging up their family members, their loved ones. So they take it into their own hands, and Salem sort of is the leader of that spear, if you will, fighting back against the resurrectionists. But yeah, this was super fun, and we get bits and pieces of cosmic stuff leading up through the book, and then near the end I feel like Michael just completely tears the bandage off, and the cosmic, just wild, crazy horror just spews forth from the dark realms, the elder worlds, and the ending is mind-boggling and crazy. I really loved it. Overall, it's super, super violent and grisly and gory, and the climactic battle, if you will, was fantastic. There were some great creatures or entities, whatever you want to call them, I will give one away. They're sort of these white albino arachnid creatures that have more than 8 legs. But what they would do to people was just brutal and grotesque and wicked, and I really loved that. Like I said in my previous review, I really love violence and gore in the Black Magpie, or the Magpie Coffin review. Talk about how much I love the violence in that. I really love the violence in this one as well. And yeah, it was just made overall for a really fun, entertaining, cosmic horror goodness, all wrapped up into one, you know, as the backdrop to this historical, or really that's the focus, and the backdrop is this historical fiction, these doctors' riots that is all based on. Oh yeah, this is book 1 in the series. Book 2 is already out, Born of the Deep, or Born in the Deep. I can't remember for sure, but I'm already reading that one, and I'm already liking that one more than this one, and I really enjoyed this one. This first book, The Resurrectionist, I gave it 4 stars. It's a super solid read. If you like historical fiction mixed with horror, and if you like cosmic horror, I really think you should check this out. The prose was great. Again, the detail with the historical fiction, it felt well researched. I really enjoyed Salem Hawley as a character. I wish we learned a little bit more about him. We do get sort of some flashbacks during his time in the war, and him reflecting on how he always seems to be surrounded by death, especially in the war, and now, you know, he's trying to protect these dead bodies from being dug up. But I feel like we're gonna get more stuff, more character development from him in book 2, so that didn't really bother me too much. But yeah, overall, I love Salem. The antagonists were great and creepy. They're great human villains. They're despicable. Then we get this added, you know, these cosmic villains and entities coming in, which just took the story to a whole nother level. Yeah, this has been my review. I give it 4 stars. This has been The Resurrectionist by Michael Patrick Hicks. I totally think you should check it out. I read this one. I bought this one on Kindle and read it, and I'll be looking forward to buying more of Michael's books as well. But that's all I have for you guys today. So thanks for spending your time with me. Again, my name is Brad, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.